Hello, everybody. Welcome to our time to talk. Drum roll, applause. There, all the whole thing. We have Bethany, aka urcryptogf, here for a fun new talk. So you can go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, about your talk.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Bethany. Um, Out of all of us here, you can all generalize me and just think of me as like the film one out of everything everybody does. Don't I'm I understand all of like 3D modeling and everything within it, but I do have my strengths and weaknesses and the whole modeling side of stuff and the character design and everything that's beautiful and gorgeous and makes a game. Yeah, I like the cinematics. I like the cutscenes. I like the filmmaking production side of things. Myself, I have about, I'd say now, a good like 15 years post production experience. Um, and yeah, I have only recently actually gotten into film, maybe over the last like 2 3 years or so, but doing so has really just opened my eyes. And I came to school to under the major of digital animation, but I went to a film school, so I got the best of both worlds in seeing how film was and how to translate that into game development. And I thought it was a really, really cool mesh because it really does mesh very well into each other. So I was honored when the game collective and all of the admin decided, that this would be something people would be interested in. I didn't think anybody would be. I thought you guys all did such cooler things. So I was like, I am filling out this form and hoping for the best. I did not even intend on hearing back from anybody, but I'm super honored that everybody's here and have some sort of interest. You can have absolutely none at all, but my goal after this is that we will know how. Thank you, Anthony, so much. But we will know how to make films, and that's to say, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, after this, I'm hoping that we will know how to make featured animated, like full feature animated films. That's to say, also taking things smaller, cutscenes, trailers, anything that involves like more of a cinematic feel to the game or whatever you're creating. That's what my goal is for us to understand how to make at the end of all this. So that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about myself. I know that there's time after all of this to just have questions or whatever. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have the chat open. That's my thing. I am on a single monitor setup, so if I full screen my presentation, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to see anything anybody says. I'll check periodically for sure, but I just want to give that disclaimer, to just make sure if you have anything, just jot it down. I will see it either during the presentation or afterwards. I'll go through everything and we can really like get one-on-one about it. But yeah, Anthony, if there's anything else you needed to say officially, let me know, or else I'll just hop right in.
Nope, I think we're all good to go.
Okay, everyone. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be film and how it translates to game development, created by me and powered by the wonderful game collective as a whole. So, first, I wanted to go over just the basics. This would basically be things that will help you, like I was saying earlier, if on the production side of things, if you even didn't really know what kind of shot you wanted to go for, but you knew the emotion you were trying to create, or you kind of had, just whatever storyline you knew what you wanted visually, but you didn't really know how to execute that. These are shots old as time itself. From the start of film, it goes into a whole bunch of history stuff that I won't bore you guys with today, but these basically are the close-ups. And so there's an extreme close-up, a close-up, and a medium close-up. The acronyms for them are ECU, CU, and MCU. Those I like to put there just so you guys know that if you had an actual shot list and you were going and going back and forth with your production crew, those are the type of acronyms you would use just on your shot list to make it easy and quick. So first, extreme close-ups. It's a strong visual statement that focuses the audience's attention on a small detail of the subject. This can really be anything, and here I had eyes specifically, but it can be hands, it can be feet, it can be an object itself. It just basically is the filmmaker's way of indicating that whatever's shown in the shot is very important to the scene or the film. After that, we have close-ups. Most, if not all of the frame is covered by the actor's face. And the main purpose is basically just like the first one, to convey information. This also is letting you know as the audience that visually this is important, this person is important. Medium close-ups, it frames the shot. Basically, the subject, it cuts off a little bit of the head and starts right just below the chest. And it's meant to capture the subject's facial expression and body language, but it leaves a bit of the background just so you almost visualize and encapsulate your character with their environment. And then the mid shots we have are a medium shot, a cowboy shot, and a medium full shot. The medium shots, they're also called waist shots. The shot stretches somewhere from around their waist to slightly above their head. In film, the shots specifically that are cutting off the top of the head, that's an entire shot itself. But usually, if you were keeping the head in frame, it's just like a rule of thumb. You always keep a good 2 inches or more of free space. And this is all like just rules, but it's more so that, you get the feel you want. But this is like for the traditions of cinematics. These, it's like always just 2 inches or more of free space above the head. And yeah, this shot, it stretches from somewhere around their waist to slightly above their head. It's like I said, it's depending on your scene, depending on your character. We have a stout, cute old man from Up, and so we see a little more of his legs than we do, maybe Shrek here, So it's completely up to you at the end of the day. This cowboy shot, it's definitely a lesser known shot. It basically was used, in the time of old westerns and film and western filmmaking, basically framing the subject from the knees or the mid-thigh, basically to slightly above their head, and pretty much was just used to show the gun, the holster, everything that they would have like strapped to them was able to be shown, and that's pretty much why they called it a cowboy shot. But nobody really uses these anymore, but it's something to know. And then we have the wide shots. We have a wide shot, we have an establishing shot, and we have an extreme wide shot. We have the wide shot. It's a shot that typically shows the entire subject or the human figure. It's intended to place the subject in some relation to its surroundings. And I think the best example I could show is this one, where Rapunzel, she has her really long hair, and it's a wide shot because of how we see her entire figure, but basically showing her entire environment, that her hair is stringing, around the man, and he's literally trapped in it, that would be the point of why they did it a wide shot there. And then we have establishing shots. These you will, after this, I promise, you will see everywhere, and you will just if you're like me, I hated establishing shots. I hated that I had to do them all the time. I was the person that was so anti-establishing shots, but I've come, I guess, to learn that they do and are purposeful, and they do have a point. And it is, in traditional film, always the first shot of your scene. It's meant to introduce new scenes to the audience, and it tells the viewer where and when the action is happening. So usually this is, the transition. If we're starting in a city, but then, we go to somebody's apartment or a forest or something, that's when you will create a new establishing shot for wherever your scene is basically going to take place. And then we have extremely wide shots, also called an extreme long shot. It's meant to show the scene setting as a whole. If there's people in the frame, which there never needs to be, they're usually depicted as really, really small in relation to the size of the image. Like, they're pretty much meant to be minuscule, and within the environment, it's supposed to make the environment magnificent. You know what I mean? And then we have the experimental shots, and this is where it can be whatever you want, whatever you feel. Film is supposed to be experimental as a whole. Film is supposed to be you and how you depict the world. And I think that with understanding the shots, I think there's so many ways to see the world from your individual perspectives. And so, that's to say these are experimental shots, but I say that loosely because in my opinion, all film is experimental. We have the Dutch angle. It's a shot in which the camera's been rotated around the axis of the lens, and relative to the horizon are vertical lines in the shot. That's a huge technical hoopla for, basically, I guess I could show it the best in this one, being that, we see these men from this angle, and everything perspective wise, like, I'm all the illustrators and artists and people so much better than me that are so creative and wonderful. You see the lines, like, everything is in relation to the rotation of the axis. I'm probably butchering how to say that. Don't shoot the messenger, but it's you obviously, y'all all know what I'm talking about. So it's basically meant to cause a sense of unease or disorientation for the viewer. This is like one of the funnest shots I think you can have. You can have literally so much fun. It was so much fun finding examples of Dutch angle shots, because these, I think, are where filmmakers have the most fun, like, encapsulating you in their world. And then we have over the shoulders. It's almost the same as a dirty single, almost exactly, nothing different, but there is a slight difference. It's a shot that gives us the character's point of view, but includes the character's shoulder or the side of their head in the shot. And it's basically, we've all seen it. It's done with dialogue between two individuals. This is where I always like to cheat, especially because everything takes so long in digital animation, and, you have to have everything so polished by the time it gets to the cinematic part. But this is where you can kind of let loose a little bit, because if you even want to have your character, the POV we're seeing, basically, you don't have to have your character in the shot. And if you do, you have them blurred completely out to where you really see nothing but the hair and, the shoulders. So when it comes down to it, if you were like working fast and just trying to, be quick, like, this is the shot that you can have the most, like, ease with, because you can let things that aren't so in focus to be completely just unpolished, And then, like I said, a dirty single is the same thing, but basically we just cut out the character. We cut out Lindsay Lohan pretty much, and we just see Regina George. And they do it all the time. It's done I guess I'd explain it best in terms of, like, real life filmmaking, that it's done out of mostly just cost. Like if your actor or somebody isn't available when you're doing these dialogue scenes, you just put two people in the same room 2 different days, and it's like you just shoot back and forth. Like one person could basically say the entire script or whatever their dialogue is, and then you could take the actor out 3 days later, bring the next actor in, shoot from his like dialogue perspective, flip the camera, and voila, it's easy. And then, like I said, whatever you want. These were my own shots from a short film I had done. And it's, filmmaking, like I said, is very experimental. And the most important thing to understand is that different shots can convey all types of different information and emotion. And, you can cause unease, you can create depth, strength, vulnerability, all through the framing alone. And like I said, nothing is set in stone. And I was always one that valued learning the traditions. And I intend to break every single rule known to man. So, and that's allowed. And it is amazing the things that you will create off of doing things opposite or doing things that are quote unquote wrong, because first and foremost, nothing you ever do will be wrong in film, So just keep that in mind. It's good to understand the rules and then go ahead and break them by the tens of thousands if you want to. And then next, we have the Character Arc Bible. I wanted to kind of go into, if ever we're creating characters or we're creating stories for games and, we're trying to create like the narrative part of things. This is basically the best way I could describe how to build that story. And so first it's basically, you can do your own research if it interests you. I myself, I love Joseph Campbell, and that is somebody within film that is heavily referenced. He created a concept that's basically called the hero's journey. And he took it from facts that were, down to the oldest traditional folklore and myths and what similarities all of the stories had with them. And then he was able to create what we now in film know as the hero's journey. So first we basically have the beginning, it's the build up, then we have the middle, the trial and error, and then the end, which is, the success or defeat. So basically in the beginning, we have the call to adventure. When the hero receives the call, it's usually in the form of a message, a dream, an encounter with a mentor, and this is basically where the story would start if our character usually wasn't coming from a place of inadequacy within their environment. And so because of that, there's usually a refusal of the call. And this is basically when the hero refuses that message, that encounter or that dream, basically out of fear or doubting themselves or, like I said, inadequacy. And then after that, we usually have meeting the mentor. The hero encounters a mentor or guide who provides support, advice, and guidance on the journey ahead. And, you can pair this pretty much with any film because they pretty much all follow this. And the best ones, referencing, like I said, Joseph Campbell's Star Wars was actually created from taking that book, and I think it was Joseph Campbell's Heroes with 1,000 Faces. I think I called him Jeffrey, but his Hero with 1,000 Faces, and Star Wars was taken completely like play by play off of everything Joseph had like written out in that, and so this is something they really do like. Just you can basically, if you were to read everything he wrote about in the book, and he goes way more in depth than I do, but it's pretty much, you would be able to have a complete full-fledged story if you just took everything he had written and made your own like interpretation of it. You know what I mean? Okay, so anyways, sorry. Meeting the mentor, that's basically what I could, I guess, explain the best with, everybody's seen The Wizard of Oz. And it's basically, when I always say, I'm so dyslexic, so I'm trying not to say Fairly Odd Parents, but it's the fairy godmother, she comes down in her little bubble and whatnot, that's like the mentor. And then we have crossing the threshold. You see, the hero leaves behind the known world and crosses the threshold into the unknown. And then we have the tests, allies, and enemies. The hero navigates through tests, trials, and errors, often with the help of allies and the opposition of enemies. And then we have the approach to the inmost cavern. The hero approaches the innermost cave or the heart of darkness, usually facing their greatest fears and challenges. This is completely interpretational. Usually this is, I'm not saying usually, but it can be as symbolic as you'd like it to be. Like the inmost cavern could be within the hero themselves. You know what I mean? Like it's all up to your interpretation. And then we have the middle. We have the ordeal, the moment of the hero's greatest challenge, where they face a major obstacle or enemy and must overcome it to continue their journey. And then the reward, the hero achieves an award, usually in the form of knowledge, insight, or a powerful object. This usually helps the hero and progresses them on their journey. And then we usually have the road back. The hero begins the journey back, usually encountering different obstacles and challenges, but using the newfound knowledge and experiences to overcome them. And then around the end, we have the resurrection. The hero experiences a moment of death and rebirth, often symbolized by a physical or metaphorical transformation. Then the return, the hero returns home, transformed and changed by the experiences, with the new knowledge and insight they can use to benefit their community. Because like I was saying, this is always kind of like the arc of the transformation arc of the character, and that in the beginning they felt inadequate and they doubted themselves, and that was because that was their reason for the refusal of the call. But by the end, and the knowledge and the strength and the confidence that they have because of their journey, basically this is where they come to like the quote unquote fruits of their labor, basically. And then 12, the freedom to live. The hero achieves a state of freedom and enlightenment, often living happily ever after in a state of balance and harmony. This is where, the ending can completely go opposite. Let's literally, just like Caesar. Now I just have this Mean Girls in me, so like, sorry, everybody hates Caesar, but yeah, like let's just, instead of making him live in harmony, we can literally like ruin his life. And that's how you get a sequel. That's how you prolong the story. That's how you add your flair to it, and then you go from there. But that's basically the hero's journey. That's, I would say, the Bible for if you get stuck, if you need help understanding or getting your character really from start to finish and understanding them and their world. That is one of the best things from a filmmaking standpoint that can really help yourself in your storytelling. And then Disney Pixar's storytelling techniques. I didn't go into all of them. Emma Coates was, and I believe still is, an animator at Pixar. And she, just over her years, had decided to create, just a little jotting down notes of like the things she learned along the way. And she ended up writing 22 like little notes, like numbered 1 through 22, about like techniques within Pixar storytelling, because they definitely are known for how they storytell. And I did not want to get into all of them. I know that I didn't have that much time to really go into too much that I really wish I could have. But I think the main one that I thought was so cool was she basically wrote out what pretty much is the plot line for how Disney creates their stories, or I should say Pixar creates their stories. And, it's once upon a time there was blank, every day blank. one day blank, because of that blank, until finally blank. And it's so cool because you can really just incorporate that into whatever character you want. You know, like you could literally just like make a whole just random, just thinking about it. And it's like, you know, once upon a time, there was a little girl who loved clocks. Every day at noon, she would go to see her favorite cuckoo clock. One day, the clock didn't tick. And because of that, she aimed to figure out why until finally she was met with her greatest challenge of all. And it wasn't that hard, you know what I mean? And of course there's room for making it, you know, more solidified and making the real story true, but you know, I mean that really is just as simple as the plot line is for creating a real full-fledged like Pixar story, which I thought was really, really cool. And then I wanted to go into some lighting techniques. This was another thing I definitely did not have all the time in the world for. You can always look up, there's all types of social medias. I know that there's I mean, it's called a gaffer, and there's all types of different lighting techniques. There's gaffers that have these magnificent lighting arrangements, really, you know, and the lighting they get from it is crazy. You know, you could look at what's a great one lighting wise right now, Dune, you know, Dune 1 and Dune 2, like beautiful cinematics, and a lot of it was due to their lighting, you know what I mean? So I couldn't get into even a lick of that, but I did want to get into, you know, the traditional one, which is 3-point lighting. And this is basically what, you know, when in doubt, just 3-point lighting. That's really, if I could tell you anything about lighting, that's just your go-to. Because in film, we really aim, unless you specifically want shadows, and that's another thing, that everything within film is always intentional, and always try to remember that about everything you do. I'm sure, you know, out of all the things we do in all the jobs and careers we have, you guys know that. But with film, it same goes, you know, always be intentional, and down to your lighting. In film, usually it is that you're trying to erase your shadows and you don't want them there. But also, like I said, if you want shadows and that is what you want your shot to have, is those specific shadows, then you get those shadows. But 3-point lighting is basically the spick and span way to avoid shadows. And if they were ever a thing you didn't want, this is the easiest setup for just how to get perfect lighting in that regard. So the first is a key light. The key light is over here on the left side. Primarily, it's the primary light source. It's conventionally placed 45 degrees at an angle and then 45 degrees above. Like I said, these numbers are completely manipulatable. You can have them in however, you know, side, up, down, whatever you want, you know, but knowing that your key light should always be your primary, and it should always be the most strongest out of all your 3 lights. And then we have the fill light. Like the name suggests, it's used to fill the shadowy areas of the face that are ultimately caused by the key light. Because if you're lighting them from the side, you're obviously going to get the facial shadows that are on the other side of the nose. And so this fill light is basically to erase those shadows. And by default, because of this, your fill light should always be immensely softer and less intense than your key light. And it's basically just, you know, rule of thumb, always just opposite of your fill. I mean, opposite of your key. That's all you have to remember. And then you have your backlight. This doesn't show it the best, so I do have a little example I made up for us in Unreal. But the backlight it's also known as a rim light. It's meant to hit the subject's back of the head and the shoulders. It's to make them stand out from the background. It's always a good height above the subject, so that's why I say you can't really see it too well here. It should be a good amount above our subject in question. And yeah, like the picture suggests, it's to basically take them away from their background and to give them the depth and basically pop your character out, for lack of a better phrase, I guess. And then, so I did a quick little, 1-2 for us to just a quick 3-point lighting. I didn't really mess with the lights too much, other than, the standard, making the key light the most intense and then the fill light, having that a little softer. But my character is already in Unreal, but, I wanted to show that there's no lights. I didn't add anything to it. So yeah. And then I went ahead and set up the camera so we could just basically see from both views, the viewport and the cinematic. The shadows are visible. We can see on the right side of the face. And that's just because, like I said, it's in an angle. So we're going to get those shadows after everything past that nose. And then adding the fill light right here. It's already visibly erased the shadows, and, self-explanatory. Like, that's just how you get rid of that. And then I had to, after this, I had to create a little bit of a background, just because the backlight wasn't really doing anything, because I didn't really have anything as a background. But and this, I didn't even put it in a world. I didn't really add anything to it. I'm sorry. I was way sicker than I thought I'd be, and I was trying to get better. So I like I was telling, when we were doing all the IT stuff, I was trying to get an animation in for us, and I had gone and I was working in Premiere, and I was keyframing animations in Maya and doing all this cool stuff, trying to get it ready for us. But I just got too sick, and I'm the type of person, you always want to show like a finished product, and I didn't have it done. So that's why I said hopefully maybe I'll be back if everybody really would like to, and we can do like a deep dive into like actually creating a cinematic and like really making some fun stuff. But so yeah, that's to say I didn't have a world like I had done, but I went and added some directional light and volumetric clouds and whatnot, just to show like what a backlight would do. And it's not too much, because like I said, I didn't mess with the lighting, I didn't mess with the world lighting, I didn't do too much like that. But basically how you see the shoulder pretty much is visibly like different than the background our character is within, instead of with no backlight, and how that like translates. And my backlight wasn't strong, it wasn't super intense, but maybe if anything a little stronger than my fill. But when you were actually like in a world and you actually like had your level and you were trying to sit here and do cinematics, just imagine that your backlight would just give the character that oomph, to get through everything. And that's all I had for you guys. Like I said, I was not able to read the chat. I'm so sorry, you guys. But yeah, so I wanted to make this the time for anybody that had any questions, anybody that had anything, Yeah, me too. I love some backlights. Oh, you guys, you're so welcome. I know I wish I could have gone so much more into lighting, but I wanted ample time for questions. And if there's anything that because I wanted to make sure I didn't yap for too long, so we had an ample amount of time for questions. But if there's anything I can go into in depth, this is I am here for you. So if anything else in lighting, and that's to say, lighting is one of those things you can always have the most fun with, because you can do honestly whatever you want. Like, I had a short film that I had done, and my fiance was like the quote unquote boss, who we put on our TV. We had this whole like setup we had done, but it was like we made a red room, and it was so fun. Oh, thank you guys so much, by the way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being part of me showing how I merge myself into film and into game development. I think it definitely, there's way more that I could go into, and we would definitely will see each other again, but there's a lot of fun to be had in film. And if anything, I want you all to know that it's very easy and very attainable to create your own films, to create your own cutscenes, your own trailers, and it's fun. It really is, and you can do whatever you want with it. So I hope to give you guys a new outlet on things you can play with, stuff you can do. I'm glad, Lucian. It's definitely a film, or it's definitely an industry and a field that it's like lesser known, but to know that, we're around it all the time. We watch TV all the time. We go to movies all the time, and it's not that hard for what you see on that big screen to be what you create as well. Also, quick question. Have you explored previs? Sequencer is fantastic for it and gives some great practice. Yes, I actually, that's one of my like unofficial titles is like previs animator. I haven't had anything like any job that I've officially done with it, but and especially because I need to get more, I think, into my VFX. I think it's so much physics for me that I get a little lost. And so that's something I need to brush up with. But I always thought previs was so fun because they're so, I'm glad to do it because it's cool that, to be able to create these things that would be like billions of dollars in an actual production, like we can throw cranes in the sky and we can have camera movement within like Unreal that they wouldn't be able to do with like $1 billion budget. That's why I say like all of us, we are better than James Cameron, okay? Like I swear to God, like don't let anybody in the film industry that acts like they do these $1 billion budget productions. You can do way better and you literally don't even have to like move. So, it's really cool to know that like previs, like it's there for those people to be able to see that it's possible maybe to like do these things that they want to use and pay billions of dollars for. But I think it's funner and I think it's like way more cool that like as a previs animator you can like basically just like go crazy and like defy the laws of physics and I guess like life. Oh, and thank you, Jasper. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, JJ. Thank you guys so much. I just want to make sure, everybody feels included. I really appreciate all you guys being here. You've made me feel 100% at home. I feel happy to be here, happy to all teach us some great stuff. That was my goal. Hello, Anthony.
Okay, thank you a lot for your talk. It was amazing.
Thank
I'm very happy we had you here. If there are there any more questions? If there, like, let's give people another 5 seconds. Yay, me on stage. Yes. Okay. Let's see if Liz has any question or not. And if not, then we can probably wrap up the talk, unless you will have anything else you want to share with us.
Yeah, Liz, I would love to hear, yeah, because you said you don't have any like specific questions on the subject, but would love to hear more about lighting. That is something that is so explorational, and I think that we would have fun and chat for hours over lighting. But there's a real like techie side of lighting that I think would explain things a lot easier, but it's definitely something that goes into, especially with animation and 3D animation in that realm. I think it's something that is best talked about under like when going over shaders and like things of that nature, because really lighting in animation will definitely be, we deal with it in the cinematic side of things, of course, and I think we are like like final look of everything. But I think mainly the lighting would be dealt with like our material artists and environment artists that kind of are working with those shaders and things that will basically make the lighting look the way it does, if that makes sense. And that's basically the why I say like it'd be more of a talk that goes into a lot of technical things, because with animation, you know, we all know that it's like we're trying to mimic reality. So it's like we can't just plug up some LED lights and get the lighting that we want. And in theory, we can, but it's like it's possible that it won't look the same because we have to go through all of the textures and the shaders and, you know, things of that nature. But that is definitely something, if anybody would be interested, and you yourself, you can always message me personally about it. But there's a lot of things within film that definitely need a bigger deep dive, and that specifically is one of them. So if anybody would want it, you know, I'm happy to set up another talk and we go full-fledged into lighting, which is super fun, by the way. Like film takes everything from the greats. And when I say the greats, I mean, you know, the traditional art, the Renaissance art. So the best I could say, you know, to not be able to get into it at this very moment, it's more so that, you know, just look at your favorite artist. I know film references Rembrandt a lot, references Caravaggio, just for the style and the look and the contrast that they gave in their portraits and in their work. And film recreates those lighting techniques. So, you know, you can look up Rembrandt lighting, you can look up Caravaggio lighting, like things of that nature. But film always stems from the greats of that kind of stuff. So if I could lead you, you know, on a super like explorational path, I would say definitely like research like Rembrandt lighting or whoever your favorite artists are. That's a great place to start.
Awesome. Yeah. So, like, if anyone will have further questions, feel free to contact our lovely host. And right now, I guess it's probably the time to finish it. So thank you once again. Thank you everyone for coming. And I wish everyone a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I hope you guys, good time zone. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night.
I just wanted to come back on and say thank you too. And thank you for your talk. It was a lot of fun and informative and really cool. And thank you for everybody for coming.